you don't want to make the big fights happen, you might as well stay with your promoter that you're with now and be loyal to Floyd.
Devin Haney said, quote, "If you don't care to go and make the big fights happen, what's the point of even leaving your current situation? Might as well stay there and be loyal to Floyd." What do you think about that?
He's an email champ. He's an email champ. He's fighting because somebody mailed him the belt. How is that? Did that ever happen in boxing anymore? And he's talking crazy. And he still got, like, come on. So if you win, you said all that. If you win, I'm not on my contract. Let's make the fight happen. Since you was wanting to talk crazy, let's do that. I want to fight you if you win, Devin Haney.
A few moments later.
The 8th fighter in the 4-belt era to become the undisputed champion of the world. How does that sound?
Alhamdulillah, all praise due to Allah. Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
You're now the champion at 135 pounds. The champion. There's only one.
And it's undisputed, man. You got to say undisputed. I need to hear undisputed.
You're the undisputed.
Undisputed.
And that's the right word for you because there is no dispute. No one can dispute this.
I'm not the champion. I am undisputed champion.
Absolutely. I don't care who has belts and who doesn't and who has. These are
nobody has belts.
Right.
Nobody has
belts.
Well,
Tank has a regular belt, right? Right.
Throw it in the trash can.
This is what I'm saying.
Throw it in the trash can.
See. Who are you most interested in?
I like a fight with Loma. I think Loma is someone who the world will give me my credit, my just due for. Obviously, a Tank fight, Tank Davis fight, and those are the two names that's on my hit list for sure.
Tank Davis tweet before the fight, going into the fight, "If you win, why don't we get together?" How do you feel about that?
Well, we haven't heard much about that after the fight, so we don't know if he changed his mind or what. It's really no even like he might as well throw that shit in the trash. It's not even real. It's not even a belt, so he might as well just throw that shit in the trash because it's pointless.
So, but he is your mandatory right now.
He could be my mandatory.
He could be.
He's not my mandatory.
What could mean?
If he want it, then he could get it.
Oh,
he
so
could become
so if he
my
wanted
mandatory.
to be your mandatory,
he could push. Yeah, he could push for it.
And you would accept that fight right now?
Come on now. I said 2 fights that I want. Loma and
Tank, set this shit up, man. Let me call. I'm in Texas people. They got to figure this shit.
Breaking news, Floyd Mayweather came out and said that Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson need to fight each other. Top Rank need to make that fight. Don't worry about Tank. Everybody keeps saying Tank is not this, is not that. He don't have this belt, he don't have that. Well, guess what? Don't worry about Tank then. Let Tank continue doing whatever he's doing. As long Tank is with Floyd Mayweather and Al Haymon, he's always gonna live good.
Devin Haney and they got Shakur Stevens. Shakur, then they need to fight each other. Don't worry about Tank. As long as Tank with Floyd and Al, Tank gonna always live good.
Now, first of all, it's not even about that. Tank Davis is 27 years old, and in a few months, he will be turning 28. But the reality is, Gervonta Davis have yet to fight any fighter on the top 10 pound-for-pound list. We all know he has all of this talent and potential. However, the clock is ticking. And so far, Gervonta is only a single division 3-time world champion. It's ironic because when Floyd Mayweather was Gervonta Davis' age, he was already a 5-division world champion and fought multiple fighters on the pound-for-pound list. In fact, Floyd Mayweather was already considered an all-time great when he was around that age. Meanwhile, we can't say the same thing about Tank. I mean, it's not even close, even though Gervonta Davis is Floyd Mayweather prodigy. At the very least, you would expect Tank to follow the Floyd Mayweather green print of fighting the best of the best. And you would expect Floyd Mayweather to want Tank to do the same thing. I mean, in any aspect of life, the main goal is to make money so you can feed your family. But in the sport of boxing, just like in any sport, basketball, football, UFC, and you name it, fighters compete in order to be the best. Money is cool, but it's also about legacy. For example, in basketball, Athletes sign contracts for hundreds of millions all of the times, but they still gotta go out there and compete with the best, play with the best every single time in order to win the championship. Keep in mind, they already got paid. They don't gotta do anything. However, the drive of being the best is what makes them want to do everything, which that applies in every single sport. From football to the UFC to boxing, fighters have always campaigned to be the best, from Sugar Ray Robinson to Sugar Ray Leonard to Muhammad Ali to Sweet Pea Whitaker to Roy Jones to Floyd Mayweather himself to Crawford and now to Devin Haney and Shakur. But we can't leave Tank out of the picture, especially when he says he's the one, especially when Tank keeps telling the public his Glock doesn't have any safety. Well, guess what? Floyd Mayweather just put the safety on. And we can't blame everything on Floyd because Floyd Mayweather is obviously protecting his product. So if Floyd Mayweather feels that Gervonta doesn't want to fight Devin Haney, then of course, Floyd Mayweather gonna come out publicly and shut that fight down. Just like when Floyd Mayweather in the past, he came out publicly wanting to make the Lomachenko fight, but when he saw that Gervonta wasn't ready and didn't want to fight Lomachenko, that's when Floyd Mayweather came out and automatically shut that fight down. Therefore, Floyd Mayweather is always gonna do what Gervonta wants him to do. I mean, let's be real. Gervonta Davis said leading up to the Rolly fight, if Devin Haney becomes undisputed, then I want to fight Devin Haney next. Let's make it happen. But let's be real. Since Devin Haney became undisputed, we haven't heard anything from Tank. No follow-up, so on and so forth. He disappeared like magic. Now we all can agree, if that was Ryan Garcia who just became undisputed, Gervonta would have been called him out and fought him in a heartbeat. So clearly there's a different energy for Devin Haney, since Tank is Devin Haney mandatory. Plus, Gervonta said his contract was up, and he admitted when he was on a contract with Floyd Mayweather, he never asked Floyd Mayweather to deliver him any fight. He never asked for Lomachenko, Devin Haney, Josh Taylor, or any other fight. Nevertheless, if Gervonta is sincere about fighting Devin Haney, then the time is now to demand the fights that the fans want to see. There's no excuses. We just saw the WBA ordered the fight between Bivol and Ramirez, which they could do the same thing between Devin Haney and Gervonta. Furthermore, Floyd Mayweather basically said, instead of Devin Haney and Shakur worrying about Tank and wanting to fight him, they need to go ahead and fight each other, which that's a great fight. That's the next Errol Spence versus Crawford type of a fight. That will be a legendary fight when it takes place. But clearly, at the moment in time, they not even in the same division. Just recently, Shakur Stevenson moved up to 130 pounds, and now he's a unified champion looking to become undisputed at 130 pounds. He has unfinished business of champions calling him out. So once he's done with that, he's gonna move up to 135. But for the moment in time, Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney are in the same division. In fact, Gervonta is Devin Haney mandatory. So if Tank wants to fight, the fight can happen. Just like how recently the WBA ordered Bivol to fight Ramirez. They can do the same thing for Tank and Devin Haney. And if Tank prefers to move down to 130 pounds, that's fine. He can fight Shakur Stevenson there. Or at the very least, if Tank can get the Ryan Garcia fight, then fight Vasyl Lomachenko. ESPN and old media still have Vasyl Lomachenko on the pound-for-pound list. You have Devin Haney on the pound-for-pound list. You have Shakur on the pound-for-pound list. All of these fighters will catapult Gervonta Tank Davis' career into new heights. It's time to fight the best. And the best and the biggest fight for Tank is the undisputed fight with Devin Haney. Floyd Miller said, people say Tank don't have this belt, he don't have that belt. Well, Gervonta Tank Davis doesn't have any belt. Devin Haney has all of the belts. So if he want to become a champion at 135 pounds, he has to fight Devin Haney. Hopefully Tank is not waiting Devin Haney out to move up to 140 pounds, so he can fight for a vacant title once Devin Haney relinquish all of the belts. More importantly, Floyd Miller said if Tank ends up winning undisputed, the first thing he's going to tell him is go ahead and vacate 3 of the titles so you don't have to pay all of these sectioning fees. Then a few moments later, Floyd Miller started bragging about how he held 5 championship titles at the same time, 3 at 147 and 2 at 154, which was historic. However, that means he had to pay 5 sectioning fees instead of 4. So what's the point of talking about all of these sectioning fees when it comes to undisputed, when Floyd Miller was paying even more money to hold 5 belts? In addition to that, what Floyd Miller should have told the public about becoming undisputed is that he did not have to become undisputed, because every time he went to a particular weight class, he fought the toughest link. He fought the best champion in that division. So, of course, he didn't have to go for undisputed, because why waste your time on the weakest link, on the weakest champion? See, Floyd Miller fought all of the fighters that the public wanted him to fight. He fought all of the fighters that old media was hyping up. That's who he went after, which is exactly what Tank Davis is not doing today. Last but not least, Mayweather Promotions need to understand, instead of talking about the fights that you guys don't want, at the end of the day, or at least the night, y'all making Gervonta Tank Davis look bad. Instead of that, talk about the fights that you guys want and try to make. However, the other side did not want to make the fight, like the Teofimo Lopez fight, like the Ryan Garcia fight. Inform the public about that, which will make Gervonta Tank Davis look good. Talk about how Gervonta is knocking out the best Mexican fighters that Mexico has to offer. That's what really Mayweather Promotions should be talking about. Even when it comes to Gervonta, Devin Haney, and Shakur, we all know they all on the coincidental list. We all know they all deal with the same double standard. So if you guys don't want them to eliminate each other, then talk about that. How you guys want them to fight everyone else. Then when the dust settles, that's when they're gonna fight. Mayweather can say that instead of making Gervonta look bad, because at the end of the day, or at least the night, Devin Haney at 23 years old has already surpassed Gervonta when it comes to legacy. And Shakur Stevenson is well on his way, if he hasn't already. That's what Gervonta has to be mindful of. It really sounds like Mayweather Promotions and Gervonta Promotions need a publicist, and a boxing publicist at that. With the facts being laid out, drop your thoughts in the comment section below, subscribe below, and click on the notification bell to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, TV. Peace. And I'm on to the next one.